I'm really fortunate to be joined today by Coach Pera, who is the current men's basketball coach at Rice University. Prior to becoming the head coach, Pera served as an assistant to the Owls, where he played a large role in recruiting and game preparation. He also had a really extensive role in recruiting during his time at the University of Pennsylvania and Arizona State. And before that, he coached at the high school level for 11 years. So to start off, I wanted to ask you how your experience coaching high school has translated to the way you recruit athletes at the collegiate level.
Well, I think it contributes a lot. Contributes a lot. First of all, I certainly enjoyed my 11 years as a head high school coach. And even at the time I was doing it, I'm not sure my aspirations were to be a Division I coach or head coach. I just enjoyed what I was doing at the time. But when you get in this position of becoming a guy who's recruiting, and that really helped me in many ways because I had great relationships with so many head coaches already because of my time as a head coach myself. And it's amazing too how many high school coaches were happy for me to see like one of them become a college coach because so many guys want to aspire to do this, and so it really helped in the recruiting part of it for me. And in terms of the athletes themselves, well, I had many athletes that were recruited, and so I got to see firsthand kind of some things that I thought, okay, that was a good way of doing it. That was not a good way of doing it, and kind of take notes. And then when it was my opportunity to make sure I tried to take the best of what the guys that I thought were impressive did.
Um, what is a question that recruits should ask but usually don't?
There's a lot. I think recruits need to ask a lot of questions. But one of the big ones is, what is your vision for me, coach, as a player? Like, how are you going to develop me as a player and as a person? I think both those questions are real important. Some ask it, some don't ask it enough.
That makes a lot of sense. Rice is obviously a phenomenal academic institution. We usually rank in the top 20. How important are academics during recruiting?
Well, for us, it's a huge piece. I mean, it's the first thing I ask my assistants every time we are kind of get a lead on a prospect is, do you have their transcripts? Do they fit not only Rice, but do they fit who we are as a basketball culture? And so the academic piece is huge. And I really love that about Rice, and I embrace that. It's yes, I always say it always makes the pool a little smaller, but I like the water that we swim in because we're getting such great kids and families that we talk to and recruit. Really makes it enjoyable for me. I look at that as a big positive.
So that leads me perfectly into my next question, which is when you are evaluating a potential recruit, what is most important to you? What stands out to you?
The most important thing to me is character.
Mhm.
I really want to see what type of kid he is, and does he fit our group because we have a really high character group of young men, and I want to make sure I'm bringing in guys that will get along with them, will fit what we're doing, have the same purpose and vision, that academics and basketball both matter to them. And then obviously, they have to be very good basketball players also, but character is a big one for me.
Yeah. A basketball roster is very small. You only got 15 guys. You need, character, as you mentioned. To what extent does team chemistry play a role in how recruiting goes?
It's really important. We bring a kid on campus, and I tell my guys all the time, especially the older players, if you feel this recruit is not somebody that would fit in with us, I don't care how good he is, I will stop recruiting him.
Hmm.
If they say to me, Coach, this guy, he really fits who we are and has the same vision as us, well, then that certainly gives that kid, really kind of elevates him with me. Again, and then the basketball piece really plays into it as well. Is it a position that we need? Does he have certain skills that we look for, etc.
Rice obviously recruits talents within the region locally, but nationally and even internationally. How do you balance that in the recruiting process?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, the ability to recruit the country, it goes back to that little, my analogy of the wall, where you're swimming. well, at least we're able to go all four corners, and recruit everywhere because the Rice name and the Rice brand is so powerful.
Hmm.
It's really, again, it's a big plus for us. And you also want to recruit locally as well, and we have a good mix on the team now, and we'll continue to do both.
One of, the most famous recruits of yours is James Harden, who you also coached at the high school level, and brought to Arizona State during your time there as an assistant coach. What role did the player-coach relationship play in that decision?
It's 100%. I mean that's a special thing to me that what James did. He told me he was going to go if I went to college. He was going to go where I went as long as it was a high major school. And at the time, I didn't really put whole lot of stock in that comment. It was very much
Hmm.
a very awesome compliment. It's one of the most best things probably my career to have a kid say that to me. But then when I got to Arizona State, I said to Coach Herb Sendek, I said, look, please don't hire me to get James Harden because I can't promise that. But your chances just increased a lot. Because if it's something that I think he could fit in here well and do well here, he would probably listen to me and probably come. And that's what he did. And most importantly, though, I'm just thankful it worked out because there's
Hmm.
no guarantees, that those things are going to work out. It's been storybook for me and just been incredible to watch his journey.
So one of the things that I think, you're kind of getting at is that, there could be a lot of factors that play into recruitment, and obviously the coach is a big one. And in your case, you've been able to foster really incredible bonds. But what should young players be wary of hearing from a coach during the recruiting process?
If they're promising playing time, if they
Hmm.
promise them a starting role, if they promise them a certain amount of shots or whatever, you got to be leery of that um, because I think that's really hard to do, and then you kind of back yourself in the corner if you do it. For us, it's got to be a fit. It's always about a fit. Like I tell the recruits and their families, it's not always about a fit on your side.
Hmm.
It's a fit on both sides, or it's just not going to work. And it's not perfect. It's a really imperfect deal. It's hard. There's certainly situations where you think one is going to be a great, whatever, recruit and fit. Turns out not to be, and there's others that you're like, maybe I'm not so sure, and he turned out to be a tremendous fit.
Hmm.
It's not always perfect, and it's just like it's the same though. If you're a pro team, how does Tom Brady fall to the sixth round? I mean, so it's imperfect. There's a certain characteristics you just don't know till people are till you're around them more.
Um, Obviously, there's a lot of unknowns when you are being recruited, and part of the reason why we've seen a huge increase in the use of the transfer portal is for that exact reason. With the NCAA now changing their policy and allowing one-time transfers, and with COVID-19, we've seen a massive increase. How does this uh, change the way that you recruit high schoolers? Does it have an effect? How has that changed the recruiting landscape for you?
Well, it's changing for everybody,
Hmm.
but what it's done for us has really just heightened kind of the importance of what we're looking for and targeting those kids. And because usually the guys that are both feet in and really want to come to Rice usually do pretty well.
Hmm.
Um, they come here for two reasons, and that is basketball and the academics, or the academics and the basketball. Depends on which kid you ask. But it can't be 90-10 in either way. Like it can't be 90% basketball and 10% academics. That doesn't work. And it can't be 10% basketball, 90% academics. That doesn't work either. You got to have a balance, and that's what we have targeted. Parents have become big for me. The
Hmm.
parental importance of what they see Rice as for their children, and that's allowed us to recruit kids that now are wanting to stay here. We lost nobody last year. Um, but that doesn't mean we won't lose anybody this year. It doesn't. Maybe hopefully we don't. But we think though we have a really solid foundation and roster of kids that are here for the right reasons.
Obviously, you mentioned that academics are a big component. Um, does that uh, impact the way that you position Rice during the recruiting process? How do you sell your program to aspiring recruits?
Well, the best thing about working at a place like Rice, because you're right, recruiting is selling in so many ways.
Hmm.
But when you're selling a product that you love and you truly believe in and you know is great, it's a lot easier and more fun to sell. And I have this product that is just amazing. It's a life changing degree, diploma, life changing experience. And so for me, it's fun, it's exciting, and it's easy. It doesn't mean I get every recruit I want. Kids and families have different priorities and want different things, but it certainly makes it easy when you're not having to lie or to stretch the truth or to make things up that aren't true. When in a place like Rice, it speaks for itself in so many ways. Just Google it.
I like that a lot. You've obviously been in recruiting since 2007. Over the years, what's one thing that you have learned or changed about how you recruit?
Um, well, I've learned a lot,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, it's about relationships and trust.
Yeah.
You can forget about it. Like if you don't have a relationship with a kid that has risen to a level of trust between the two of you, then it's really gonna be hard to get them to come to Rice and then for them to be successful at Rice. So you spend a lot of time on that and trying to be genuine. The other thing is, don't take this the wrong way. It's not that I used to lie. I didn't. But I'm so overly honest these days. That
Hmm.
would be the biggest change. My staff kind of gets worried sometimes. I'm brutally honest because I think it's the only way for that relationship to have trust. But it's not always what they want to hear. I mean, the truth sometimes can be hard. Even for me as an adult, when people tell me the truth, which I need in my life, it can be hard sometimes. But I just feel it's the best way, and I'm not going to change. That's one of the things I have changed over the years. But again, I wasn't a liar. Don't get me wrong. It's just how you did things. How honest were you going to be?
No, that makes a lot of sense. Um, when you were, coaching obviously on the high school level, um, did you find that your aspiring collegiate athletes tended to find those honest messages, more compelling?
Yes, and it also would come to me to vet some of them.
Hmm.
Coach, do you think this guy's being honest? Coach, what do you think of this guy? Coach, do you know this person? And so that also played a role in some of that stuff as well.
Obviously, you're very young when you go off and are deciding, where you want to play athletic ball. Um, is there any advice that you have, just more generally, to young athletes?
Yeah, be patient. I
Hmm.
mean, have a sense of urgency to work and get better, but have a sense of patience to understand everything doesn't happen immediately. And look, I'm an old man now, and I understand how the young people are. Everything has to happen, in the next 10 minutes, or it was a failure, and that's just not true. And look, Trey Murphy is a tremendous example of that. The kid that we just got drafted, the 17th pick in the NBA draft, the kid we recruited that wasn't that highly recruited. He had patience. He understood the process, um, and he didn't get frustrated by it too much. And look where it landed him. And that doesn't mean everybody's going to do that. He grew a whole bunch, and he has an elite skill. But I'm just saying the lack of understanding the process and the immediate result that's one people I wish would slow down a little bit. But I don't know that I can slow it down.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and your wise words. I really appreciate your advice.
No problem. Glad to do it. Thanks for having me.